What's going on, guys? It's Jimmy here. Welcome to our daily show where we discuss everything going on here in our country that you need to know about here on a daily basis. We got some major breaking news here, several different things here for you, actually. Let's jump right in. And don't forget to like and share these videos as well. It helps send out our reach to YouTube to share to new viewers here. So here we go. We got some major stuff. Okay, first up, the Supreme Court again declines to block President Biden's student loan debt relief of $10,000 to $20,000 for over 40 million Americans. A Republican Supreme Court Justice Amy Coney Barrett, who was appointed by former President Donald Trump, says no. The presidential executive order that is going to provide $10,000 to $20,000 for over 40 million Americans is legal. So this shows this is the second time now that the Supreme Court has says this is legal. And this provides hope for future executive orders as well. Remember that former President Donald Trump did an executive order that sent out checks before the 2020 election that sent out $300 checks per week for 6 weeks, $1,800 in total, or $2,400 if states kicked in their $100 for millions of Americans. And his executive order didn't get challenged by the Democrats. I said that was a good thing. I said the Democrats shouldn't do that because it helped out millions of Americans, in that case, unemployed Americans. So this goes to show that the Supreme Court stands with executive orders to help out millions of Americans. So this really makes you kind of wonder, what might the next executive order be to help out millions and millions of Americans? Because Trump did an executive order to help out millions and millions of Americans, literally sent out checks for $1,800 to $2,400. And now Biden's executive order has survived 2 Supreme Court legal challenges and actually a couple other lawsuits as well. So it looks like it's good to go. Looks like it's good to go for over 40 million Americans. So here's the details on this. Yeah, U.S. Supreme Court Justice Amy Coney Barrett, who is a Republican and was appointed by former President Donald Trump, on Friday again declined to block President Joe Biden's plan to cancel billions of dollars in student debt, this time in a challenge brought by 2 single people, Indiana borrowers, even as a lower court considered whether to lift the freeze it imposed on the program in a different case. Supreme Court Justice Barrett denied an emergency request by the Indiana borrowers, represented by a Republican legal conservative group. Supreme Court Justice Barrett on October 20th also denied a similar request by a Wisconsin taxpayers organization represented by another Republican conservative legal group. The justice acted in the cases because she is the justice assigned to handle certain emergency requests from a group of states that includes Indiana and Wisconsin. So as of right now, it looks like the student loan forgiveness for over 40 million Americans is set to go through. This is a major lifeline and a major stimulus program, just the latest stimulus program. This just shows you that stimulus programs are alive and well. There's or at least 33 different states that have passed state stimulus programs, state stimulus checks, inflation relief checks, property tax rebate checks this year, 33 states. This is the latest federal stimulus program for over 40 million Americans. And what might the next program be? What might the next program be? There's still over half of the states passing extra stimulus SNAP benefits every single month right now of an extra $95 per month every month. So it's basically like an extra $1,200 per year on top of extra SNAP food stamp benefits. There's really still a lot of different things going on. There's still extra utility assistance. $13 billion were just approved for utility and home energy assistance. I just did a video on that. I'll link you to that video here at the end of this video. $13 billion just approved for that you can apply for, as well as homeowners assistance, $9.9 billion. There's links down below in the description of this video on how to apply for that and see if you're eligible for that. It literally costs you nothing to watch those videos and or apply. There was $40 billion of homeowners assistance. That's kind of running out. So, because that's been going on for 2 years since the start of the pandemic, the last couple stimulus packages added money into that. But again, what the next programs might be, and honestly, there's going to be more stimulus programs on the state level, some that might still be next at the end of this year, and probably almost certainly next year as well. So I'll keep you up to date here on all these things here on my YouTube channel. Remember, new videos come out every day, 10 a.m., 3 p.m., and 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Senator Joe Manchin, Democrat. Some people would say, well, I'm not sure if he's a Democrat or not, but Senator Joe Manchin calling for a compromise on Social Security and Medicare as other Democrats go on attack. Yeah, you can see here in the closing days of the 2022 midterm elections. This is from Fox News, by the way, just so everybody kind of can understand where the this is coming from. Democrats, including President Biden and former Presidents Obama and Clinton, have been accusing Republicans of wanting to cut Social Security and Medicare, while Republicans insist the attacks are not true. On Thursday, Senator Joe Manchin, West Virginia moderate, who is not up for re-election this year, he will be in 2 years, along with Democratic Senator Kyrsten Sinema, gave his assessment of what Congress needs to do with entitlement spending. Yeah, that's an interesting word, entitlement spending. Do you think Social Security and Medicare are entitlement spending? Yeah. Speaking virtually at a CEO conference, Manchin told Fortune CEO Alan Murray that Congress needs to work on passing bipartisan reforms to entitlement programs and cut federal spending. Federal spending. Quote, you're going to get your financial house in order. We cannot live with this crippling debt. Manchin, whose previous obligations to spend substantially watered down Biden's Build Back Better agenda. If we don't look at trust funds that are going bankrupt, whether they be Medicare, Medicaid, Social Security, highway trust funds, and others, there are tremendous problems right now, the West Virginia lawmaker said in response to a question about whether Democrats and Republicans need to compromise. He says, quote, if we can come to grips of how we face the financial challenge that this country has, then we're all going to be paying a price that we can't afford. Manchin has previously voiced concerns that federal spending would contribute to inflation. Nevertheless, he voted for major legislation favored by Biden that drastically increased spending, including the $1.9 trillion American Rescue Plan and the $739 billion Inflation Reduction Act. This bill was fully paid for, which means it didn't add any money to the deficit. This bill was not paid for, but neither was Stimulus Package 1 or 2 underneath the Trump organization, in all fairness. I mean, we were literally in the midst of a pandemic and a financial meltdown. One could say we are still in a financial meltdown, so you guys can let me know your thoughts on that. Democratic attacks on the campaign trail ramped up in October after reports indicated some Republican lawmakers were eyeing next year's debt limit hike as an opportunity to leverage spending cuts from the Democrats. I'll show you the headlines here. Lots and lots of headlines like this. Republicans want to use debt limit to force cuts to Social Security and Medicare. Lots and lots of headlines like that that you guys can look up if you wanted to. So some Republicans were, potentially looking to use the debt limit ceiling coming up here as an event to leverage that in negotiations. And at an event for a Democratic House candidate in New York, Former President Bill Clinton claimed that if Republican Minority Leader Kevin McCarthy becomes House Speaker, Congress will cut entitlement programs. Clinton said that Kevin McCarthy would, if you vote for us, you didn't cause this inflation, but you're going to pay for it because here's what we're going to do. We're going to cut Social Security. We're going to cut Medicare. Senator Ron Johnson and Rick Scott from Florida have also been accused of wanting to cut Social Security because this is from Senator Ron Johnson from Wisconsin's this is his actual plan. This is what he actually wanted. He suggests ending Medicare and Social Security as mandatory spending programs where they would have to be approved by Congress every single year as opposed to being mandatory spending. So even though you paid into Social Security and Medicare, even though you pay for Medicare Part B and you paid into Social Security every single year, you wouldn't necessarily get your checks and you wouldn't necessarily get your Medicare coverage unless Congress approves it every single year. And if Congress doesn't agree, Republicans and Democrats don't agree in any one specific year, well, you might not get your checks. You think about government shutdowns and how we've had multiple government shutdowns before. Um, well, people like Senator Ron Johnson and Rick Scott from Florida think that they should have to be approved on a yearly or semi-annually basis, which could be a nightmare because and I know Republicans and Democrats very often don't agree. Even though you pay into these systems, even though they're basically holding your money in these systems, in these, Social Security and Medicare. So, I mean, you could let me know your thoughts on these, but this is kind of part of what's going on here with these elections right now. Yeah, so this is going to kind of be a little bit tough because they're going to have to do something here eventually. Social Security is set to start running out of money in 2035. But what that'll mean is that they won't be able to pay out full benefits. But remember, independent Senator Bernie Sanders' plan, I'll show you here, can actually raise benefits and increase the solvency by 75 years. So what this plan would do, Senator Bernie Sanders, there's actually about 200 co-sponsors here in Congress that are for this, would actually raise benefits and would be able to pay out an additional $2,400 per year in Social Security by raising taxes on the richest Americans. There's a couple different versions of this, but anywhere from $250,000 to $400,000 per year, those people would actually start paying into Social Security because right now they stop paying Social Security payroll taxes at $147,000. And here's one of kind of the most important part was if the extra $2,400 a year is not important. I mean, that's a lot of money. For some people, that's an extra 2 checks a year. I mean, if you make $1,200 a month, for some people, if you make $800 a month, that's an extra 3 checks per year. I mean, that's a lot of money, right? For some people, right? And this bill would actually increase the solvency until 2096. So they actually have the Social Security Administration, their mathematicians, do the math on this. So the amount of money that it would take in from the extra taxes on the people that make over $250,000 to $400,000, the people that make millions and billions of dollars would be paying so much extra taxes that not only would they be able to pay the extra $2,400 a year for millions and millions of Americans, but it would actually extend the solvency for about 75 years, all the way until 2096. So they wouldn't have to cut benefits, but they would actually be able to raise benefits and extend the solvency until 2096. And it was the actual Social Security Administration that did the math on this. Yeah. So, I mean, you can let me know your thoughts here in the comments, but I mean, whether you're a Republican, a Democrat, an independent, or I don't care either way type of person, That seems like a no-brainer to me. I mean, unless you're a person that makes millions of dollars and maybe you don't want to pay the extra money, then I get it. But yeah, extend the solvency and pay out an extra $2,400 a year. Like I said, if you make $800 a month, that's an extra 3 payments a year. If you make $1,200 a month, that's an extra 2 payments a year. If you make $2,400 a month, that's an extra full check a year. So that's a significant amount of money for most people. It's nothing to sneeze at, right? Um, so I don't honestly, the Republican plan is basically, I mean, if you've heard Republican Senator Lindsey Graham, who's basically, I think he's the person in charge of the Social Security benefits. I had him on the channel. Um, I don't know, it's been a month or two here when him and Senator Bernie Sanders kind of went back and forth. He basically just kind of wants to cut benefits. He doesn't believe in the whole raise benefit, and I kind of understand that, like, you don't think that you could raise benefits and also extend the solvency because it doesn't sound right if you're just kind of thinking. But Social Security did the math on it because the raising the taxes on the people that make 500,000, a million, millions and millions, and people that make billions of dollars, they would be paying a lot of taxes, and that's the only way it works. And if Social Security didn't actually do the math on it and figure it out and say, you know what, it checks out. And Social Security, the mathematicians there, they're not Democrat, they're not Republican. They don't like change the people every single time a new president comes in. These are people that have worked there for decades. Okay. So if they didn't say it, the math checks out, then I'd be like, okay, well, yeah, I can understand. But because they actually did the math and said it will extend the solvency to 2096, I'm totally for this plan. And think about an extra $2,400 a year would be life changing for a lot of people. We're talking about an extra 1, 2, or 3 checks per year for people that would could literally that would change their lives for some people. And if for some people it might not change their lives, but they'd be like, hey, yeah, that's a lot. That's extra money that I could use to heat my home, buy groceries, pay for gas, type of things that was like are life changing and extend the solvency. Like, why would we not want to do that? Let me know your thoughts here in the comments. I'll keep you up to date here on all this stuff going on here in our country on a daily basis. So make sure to subscribe down below to our YouTube channel. If you haven't yet, just click the subscribe button, then the bell icon that appears after you subscribe. And also don't forget to like and share these videos. It also helps out our channel grow here on YouTube. We're trying to get to 500,000 subscribers, believe it or not. Thank you guys. You guys are amazing. And I'll link you to some videos you should watch here next. Here is my newest video about Social Security raises coming out here. You could watch next. And here's my newest video about checks going out to millions of Americans that you might not even know about. So click on one of those videos next. Thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you in the next video.